Welcome to the Past Present Feature Podcast. Sundance feature programmer Ania Trzebiatowska joins the show to talk about curation as craft, responsibility, and intuition. From her roots in Poland to running Krakow's off-camera festival, working in acquisitions at Visit Films, and programming U.S. and world documentary features at Sundance, Ania reflects on how taste is formed and why being pleasantly surprised when viewing submissions still matters most. We discuss the realities filmmakers obsess over, including who you know, timing, marketplace success, and why Vimeo analytics do not tell the full story. Ania breaks down what actually happens behind the scenes at Sundance, how programmers balance limited slots with thousands of film submissions, and why being the right fit matters more than trends or agendas. She shares why festivals need balance between urgent, heavy films and work that is entertaining, humane, and emotionally alive. Drawing from examples like Andre is an Idiot and Gleason, Ania explains how character-driven storytelling can carry even the most difficult subjects. Advice to filmmakers: do your research, be clear about what you're making, and remember that programmers are rooting for you, even when the answer might still be no. How are you doing? Thank you for doing this.
Good. No, thank you. I'm so sorry. So it's basically taken 3 months to do this. So
Fine.
I'm so sorry.
That's no big deal. Where do you live, by the way?
I'm in Toluca Lake. I'm in Studio City area.
I'm in Toluca Lake.
No.
Yes, that's wild.
That's so strange. I'm off Lancashire. I'm basically like, this weird thing when you like on the, basically I'm like intersection of 3 different neighborhoods. So it's like Studio City, Toluca Lake, North Hollywood type of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We're literally, wow.
That's so funny.
I'm off Lancashire. We're like less than a mile from each other.
We might have seen each other in the neighborhood. That is really creepy.
It's so weird. I take Whipple to take my kid to school at Oakwood.
Oh, your kid goes to Oakwood. Oh, wow.
Do you know? Oh, you know what? I don't know who knows what or what's what. I just was.
You know what? As a childless person who has a boyfriend with 2 kids, I know way too much about schools that I had no interest in initially, and now I know way too much about schools. So yes, I do know Oakwood.
It's such a crazy process of getting your kids into a school in LA, and I'm glad that we did Oakwood because it truly does feel kind of down to earth.
It's supposed to be a really good place.
Anyways,
because you went to Deauville, you said, right?
Oh yeah. It was awesome. I went for this just projector sponsor, this really cool Chinese projector company called Valerian. Valerian, get yours today. They asked me to come out and just hang out and meet people and bring them to the booth and stuff. And so I got a free trip to France, and I went to Italy as well.
Perfect.
And it was wonderful. And then I come back to this place and I'm like, God dang it. We don't have to talk about it, but
I mean, everywhere's complicated right now.
Yeah, fair enough. And you would know more than me because where are you from?
I'm Polish originally, but I grew up in the UK, so I'm kind of like,
nice.
All over the map.
Are you from Krakow?
Oh, but I studied there, and it's my favorite place in Poland.
Polanski. I don't know how. Can we even talk about Polanski? Nobody likes him anymore. He's a bad boy.
I like his film stills, though, right? I don't know.
I mean, he's always been in my top 5 as far as the filmmaker itself, And when I think of Polish filmmakers, of course, I think of Polanski and Knife in the Water, and what a great, probably one of the best. I mean, he won the best foreign film, the Oscar for best foreign film, his first feature, right? Which popped him off.
I did a screening of a restoration of Knife in the Water years and years ago with him there. And it really was kind of a magical thing. Yeah. But, like you're saying, I don't know what's allowed in terms of, what we can appreciate versus not. Although I am reading this book called Monsters about this, basically. That, we allowed to appreciate art by people that we have moral sort of quandaries with, and it's
so interesting.
It's fascinating. It really is fascinating, and I still don't. I mean, I don't know what to make of a lot of this stuff, but
it's called Monsters.
It's called Monsters. Yeah.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? Yeah. It's like, how can I support or promote or lift up somebody that's done X, Y, Z because it's not okay in society. But man, his movies were great. It's like, what do you do with that? I don't know. Okay, so I am so happy to have you, and I have a few basic, simple questions. I don't want to get your name wrong. Please help me.
That's what I mean. I want to hear you introduce me. This is the most exciting part.
Oh, you want me to try? Trzebiatowska.
That's very close. It's Ania Trzebiatowska. That's how you pronounce it. So it was really close. It was
It's a
very
beautiful
good.
name. Can we talk about Poland real quick? I've never been. I've always wanted to go. The film of it all. The first thing I think about is film. And then Paweł Pawlikowski, is that his name? The guy that did Cold War?
Pawlikowski, yeah. And
Yeah, great filmmaker.
Vida, some Agnieszka Holland, who's also amazing, just premiered a new film at TIFF. Yeah, it's a pretty good filmmaking sort of situation,
They're pretty good. They're pretty good. What is it about that? I mean, the culture, I think a lot of European cinema in general compared to, let's say America, whatever, it does seem more craft focused and more celebratory of the filmmaking versus kind of a business side of it. And that's more of an LA situation, I feel like. Maybe New York is similar, but it seems like, French, of course, Italian cinema, German cinema, Polish cinema, they're all very focused on the craft and the quality. Would you say?
Well, I guess it was set up very differently, I guess given film history and how the beginnings, the roots, in Europe, it was very, very different from the studio system and all of that. So that in itself kind of makes it very different, but by default. But I think you're right about the craft of it all. It's a little bit, it's the focus is always on that. Sometimes to its detriment too, obviously, because, if you focus on the craft, but not the story as much, the script, that can be a problem. But it's true that a lot of the film schools in Poland, for example, they'll be educating all the aspects of what makes a film look good and sound good and all of that. So you won't be just studying directing; you'll be studying all aspects of the craft. And we have really amazing editors as well. So I think it's and DPs. Some of our DPs are the best in the world.
I agree. Ooh, yeah, and I think also the lighting, the soft light. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right over there in that part of the world.
Yeah,
just the lighting is so. I'm not saying that the filmmaking isn't great, but it lends itself to such a aesthetic, beautiful, vibe. Okay, so you are a feature programmer at the Sundance Film Festival, and you focus on U.S. and world documentary features. Correct?
That is correct.
Also, the festival director of Sands International Film Festival in St. Andrews, Scotland.
That is also correct.
What's up with the Sands International Film Festival? I'm curious.
Because it sounds so random. Yes, well.
It sounds lovely, though.
It is lovely. And it is a place in the world that's very dear to me for a number of reasons. So that was a bit of an accident. So I used to rewind a second to give you context. I ran a film festival in Poland called Off Camera for a very long time. Basically, that was sort of like my first proper big curatorial job. And that's a festival that's based in Krakow. And I did that from 2009 up until 2021, I guess, around that time.
It says 2008 to 2020. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just saying this
It was a long time. It was a long time. Anyway, yes. And then it just became very difficult to have two full-time jobs. So doing that alongside Sundance was a bit too much. And so I decided to retire from Off Camera. And I always loved the fact that I had that connection to Europe while working in the States. It is important to me. It's also important for me to be sort of plugged into that industry, that side of the industry in Europe. Mm-hmm. I was looking for opportunities in Europe just on a part-time basis. Because, there's a time during the year when, as a Sundance programmer, it's just not as busy. We still work year-round, but it's not as busy. So you have a few months when you can do other things. And
Which would be what, like right after the festival's over kind of thing, like the summer? Yeah, basically.
Between February and I would say May.
Okay.
Things are... So that's the time when we don't have submissions open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we do, and then things get really busy again. But I was looking to find something around that time. And my sister, who lives in Scotland, who has been based in Scotland for a long time, she's an academic. She sent me a Guardian Jobs ad that basically said that the University of St. Andrews were looking for a film curator to start a new festival. So I applied. I didn't know anybody at the university. I've only been to St. Andrews a few times. I loved it. It's a stunning place in the world.
I want to go.
Yeah, so the idea for the festival from the beginning was to make it into a weekend type of an affair. So it's 3 days.
Okay,
no
nice.
Competitions. We basically showcase the most exciting, in my opinion, first and second feature films from directors.
Very cool.
International directors, and I get to curate it with a group of students from the university. So it's also like a bit of I get to teach a little bit, and they get to learn something about this world. So just a really good reminder of why I love my job as well, on top of
That's
everything.
amazing. So you like saying it? Yeah, that's really cool. We're actually putting together a 3-day, very, very quick 3-day festival based on this podcast. Just it's past, present feature film festival where we basically show 3 older feature films. Meaning like, something that maybe didn't pop off or didn't get that love right out the gate, but it's still good. And I think people can be ageist about films, or at least distributors can be. And then the middle day would be 3 feature films of, probably sourced from this podcast, these episodes. So already filmmakers that want to kind of replay their movie. And then the third day would be the future, which would be these proof of concept kind of short films that would be a future film that they'd like to make. 3, 3, 3. But yeah, I mean, it's like just the curation of it all is really, really fun and exciting. And you were saying the weekend, like a weekend festival at first, at least, like, what a simple, solid kind of like, it's almost like a screening series. It's a festival, but it's also like this manageable thing, I guess.
Yeah, the idea is to have a festival where if you want to, you can see every single film we're playing and go to every single event. I don't like to overwhelm. I think there are enough events out there that are too big in the sense that I just find them overwhelming and I don't know what to pick in the end, and you kind of get a little bit lost. And I think it's just, it just works in this format for us. And I don't want it bigger. I don't think it makes any sense, at least right now, but I don't, it's going to be a 5th year next year. So
wow.
I think it's working. And thank you. Yeah, we made it. Yeah, that's something these days.
I'm dreading even doing this little 3-day thing that we're doing, but I'm like, I have to do it. I said I was going to do it. We have to do it.
It sounds like a really good idea, and I like the concept a lot. I think it makes sense.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it does seem. I'm happy. I'm excited about it, and like anything, it just takes work, But I was talking to Tom Powers, at TIFF, a programmer, and we were talking a lot about curation and just how. I was like, "What would your advice be on keeping cinema alive?" And And he's like, if you just get people together and watch movies. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. It does boil down to that,
And tell people about the films you love that they might have not seen. I mean, it's literally just what I do.
Love it.
I think it's good for the soul,
It's like, it goes back to the beginning of like why I think a lot of us love movies. It all started with just sitting down and watching movies. I mean, it's like me watching my kid watch E.T. His mouth is like wide open, like, oh my God. I'm like, yep, this is what it can do.
Is that his favorite film?
I don't know if it's his favorite, but it's the first movie that I showed him where it was the next level, where I could see him being just completely mesmerized. And it was like kind of the first live action, I think, that he saw, or one of the first. But it's just when E.T. and them go over the moon in the bicycle, when they fly past the moon.
Yeah.
And the music, John Williams, I was like,
Oh, that's so nice.
It's cool. All right, I'm rambling a little bit. Sorry. Okay, so you have held roles in sales and acquisitions. You were at Outlook Film Sales, and then you were at Visit Films in New York around 2015. Can you tell me a little bit about that space in your career?
Yeah. So at that point, when I joined Visit, it again kind of a happy accident. I always really, really appreciated Visit Films slates. And the way that, again, that slate was curated. I love the fact that they were supporting first and second time filmmakers, and they had this exciting new work that people were a little bit, bigger companies might have been a little bit afraid of, or not knowing what to do with. And Visit always felt like a really good home for those films. They had It Follows, huge, amazing films that weren't big as such at the beginning, but they kind of exploded. And I really feel like they taste. And I was showing their films for a long time at the festival I was running in Krakow, and that's how I became friendly with them. And then I was talking to Ryan, who's the founder of the company, and he's a friend, and he was saying that he was looking for someone to head up his acquisitions. Mm-hmm. They were based in New York. I was in London at the time. I was living in London, and I've always really wanted to live in New York. So it just felt like a bit of a, I don't know, like a happy accident again. Yeah.
You're like, let's go to New York.
Well, and also kudos to Ryan for being really open to someone who didn't have experience in the acquisition space. But he said something that I remember to this day. He said that he didn't think it was that different in terms of, of what I would be doing. It was still curation. It was just curation with more of a business side of things in mind.
Love that.
Again, they remain one of the biggest supporters of, independent film, truly independent film out there.
I know the name, yeah.
They do fiction, nonfiction, features only. I don't think they do shorts at all.
Sure, yeah.
And they do also fantastic work when it comes to festivals and festival representation for those films. Films really travel with them, which is great. So yeah, that's how it happened. And then I just learned so much about curation through that job. And it was really eye-opening. I mean, I'm not going to lie, working in acquisitions and in sales when you're a programmer can be quite difficult.
How so? Marketplace meets the craft, and it doesn't align sometimes, maybe something like
Yeah,
this.
just a little bit of both. Isn't you learn a lot about what audiences like, what they watch. You have theories as to why they watch it, and then also
Interesting.
same thing in terms of why buyers want what they want, and them telling you what they want but changing their minds. It was overnight, so you deliver what they ask for, and they're like, "Oh,
Gosh.
actually, we've moved on. Thank you very much." So it's just a bit of a tough sort of. If you're a film lover, it can be really rough on you for a
Right.
while. And it was one of those things you just have to develop a thicker sort of situation.
You can get frustrated and whatever whenever you don't get a good opportunity, distribution opportunity. And it's like, well, why not? People say they want to see this, or like this is something that people would want to watch, or whatever. And it's like, is it the middleman? Is it like the sales company, or is it the
I
moved
think it
on?
depends. I really do. I think it's a combination of factors, honestly. And on one hand, sure, I agree with you. Maybe that feels like it's short-sighted. On the other hand, they work with very specific numbers. They know
Sure.
what sells, and this is the really hard sort of truth of it all.
Okay.
And this is what gets really depressing when you hear it from someone put it like this. Like, for example, foreign language in the US is almost impossible to sell, and they have their reasons and their numbers for it and all of that. And then you tell them you have something really special and unique, and they should watch it. And every now and then someone will, and they will appreciate it, but that still doesn't change the fact that they can't buy it, for example.
Sure.
So it is, look, I agree with you. I think there is a difference between just like saying a straight up no to something versus giving it a shot. But I do think you also have to be aware of what the possibilities are. And so maybe there's a sort of like a middle ground of sorts where you push your audiences a little bit, but you don't take them out of their comfort zone completely. And that goes for creation in general. I don't think that we can be constantly challenging audiences to see something they're not prepared for. It's just
It's so interesting that ground, that middle, whatever that gray area. It's so right. It's like the marketplace meets the.
But think of it this way: you wouldn't want to be challenged 24/7 when it comes to what you watch, right? You do want to have some comfort in what you
Sure. Yeah,
know
definitely.
and what you like. So I think it's just that. It's just like I can't expect someone to be prepared to be challenged constantly because it's just exhausting. And
Yeah. And people work all day and they want to come home and just say, I want to check out. But it's also just frustrating as far as the American audience is. And I'm not picking. I'm not saying I'm all fancy, but like it's tough. Reality shows work all day long and they love it. And like if I'm at somebody's house and they got some reality TV on, I might even sit there and watch it because it's like a train wreck. But after about 7 minutes, I'm like, I feel like crap watching this. I don't want to watch this. And I guess I'm just not the typical American viewer. I don't know.
Well, but reality shows are very popular outside of the US as well. So
Are
it's
they
not,
really? Okay. Interesting.
yeah, so it's not just the US thing of it all, I don't think. But it's the formula again. It's something that people know. And like you're saying, like to watch something that kind of it's like a mix of comfort and discomfort, I guess. I don't know. I'm not the best person to talk about reality at all. I actually find it fascinating. I just don't, for whatever reason, I don't deal with reality TV very well. It just doesn't. I don't know. It causes so much discomfort for me a lot of the time that I find it very hard, honestly, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It just depends on what it is, of course.
It's so interesting too how much it's not documentary at all, but it has this. It's like documentary's stepsister, twice removed. I don't know, where it's like it's filmed in a way where it's quote unquote real. It's called reality, but it's the authenticity, the fake authenticity. It's like it's how far away is reality TV from auto fiction? You know what I mean? It's such a strange, weird thing to think about.
So much of it is also kind of like psychologically set up in advance, in terms of how the candidates are selected, how they mix and match types of personalities to create conflict and all of that. So that's manipulated to a degree that I don't know. I mean, it's still reality though. Obviously, they're doing things, right? And, but it's
Well, there's actual real they're real people in real situations. Well, not real situation, but yeah, they're real people. I have an idea. Why don't we create the reality TV film festival? You in? Let's do it.
I mean, that will be popular, that's for sure. They have those viewings of Love Island, and I saw that in West Hollywood. They had that there's a bar that literally would screen episodes of Love Island, and it was packed.
Yeah, they love it. They love it. Let me ask you this. So as far as like Sundance and
Well, that's a
not
segue.
just it's like segue. But my question was going to be, do you find that sometimes when you guys curate something for Sundance and it doesn't make its way into the marketplace successfully, do you find that to be happening more often than not? I mean, it seems like a lot of movies that are quality, that are great, that are at Sundance, that don't seem to find any traction. And maybe that's just a bigger conversation about festivals versus marketplace. I don't know.
But can I ask you, define success in the marketplace? What do you mean by that?
Like meaning like nothing, like becoming a mainstream thing where people that aren't into film festivals are coming to know it and actually watching it and it's getting in front of their face. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know if that's true, to be honest. I mean, I guess if you were defining, that's why I asked, because if you were defining success in the marketplace as a deal in like distribution deal, that would be a different conversation because that's just really difficult right now, full stop for any film.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of recognition and people's awareness of those films, I mean, I don't know if that's the case. I think we're doing pretty good for those films in that, because it's a small program when you think about it. So if you have 10,
maybe so. It seems like even I've been doing this podcast for about a year and a half, but and I've been going through programs for each festival and interviewing Sundance filmmakers last year or whatever, for example, about 8 of them or something. And I am not the typical American viewer. I'm kind of like, I watch Criterion Channel when I get bored type thing, or I, have Mubi, or I am looking at kind of more of the, and I have all the other normal things too, normal streamers too, but I don't see anything from Sundance on anywhere. I'm just saying, or any of these festivals really. They don't seem to make their way through to the marketplace or whatever, maybe the marketplace is the wrong word, but I don't know what else to call it, as far as these places where people watch movies. And maybe the thing is, maybe I'm missing them too. Maybe I'm just not coming across them. And I don't think it's just Sundance. It just seems like the festival world, it seems like there are things that make it through. It's like, maybe that's I don't know. Maybe that's also just a reflection of the industry itself and how volume is crazy and things get lost in the mix. I don't know.
A lot of it is timing, I think. I mean, volume for sure, but a lot of it is timing. It's the question of, you hear about something out of the festival, but it's on a streamer a year later because that's just what it is. Because films will travel to festivals for a year and then they will have a streaming. Sure. So I wouldn't give up on them just yet. I think, there are a lot of films that have been traveling a lot, and a lot of the films that I know from this year's festival will have sort of like ways to be released one way or another. And, and I'm not saying sometimes it is a self-release by the filmmakers because they were tired of waiting for someone to pick them up and they just didn't want any of those excuses anymore. And that's fair enough. And kudos to them. It's a lot of work. And I really appreciate when filmmakers decide to do it because they've done already so much for the film and then they have to also self-distribute. So that's a lot. But on the other hand, it's to get out there. So I don't know. I do think a lot of it is timing. I also feel like given the numbers, from the last few years of Oscar-nominated films, there were basically most of them Sundance supported.
Okay, nice.
That's a pretty good ratio, I would say. So
yeah, very cool.
And this is not honestly, I'm with you on how we need more really good films out there. I just think that it's a combination of factors in terms of how we get them. Yeah, and there's a difference between something being readily available on Netflix versus, something you have to seek out or go and see in a theater. I don't know. It's just so. Of course, I'm not saying it's all that easy, but I do think that if you want to, those films are there.
Sure. And I, even just film festivals in general, I think are so much more important than ever. Maybe not ever, but it seems like there's such the linchpin of like, it's such a big important deal to have these festivals now because of the curation and of giving. It is a gatekeeping situation. I mean, I don't mean that in a nasty way. I mean it like literally like you have to go through the gate to get to the next place and get people to see your stuff in a way, and you have to be selected. Somebody has to select these films, and it is, just to see like the full calendar year of like, all the Sundances and the Venices and the Torontos and the Berlin Alley, like, and then you see these quality films getting selected and put on. It does give me hope, and it makes me feel good about at least that there's that, with the contrast being kind of, Netflix kind of turning into more of a reality streamer. Anyways, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this Sundance programming gig, did you say it out loud before you got the job? Like that's my dream job, and then you got it? Was it a manifestation situation?
It was, but I think I was so, I'm Polish. I have so much like, I don't believe in good things happening to me until they actually do. It's like, Poland's very complicated like that. And we're very complicated as a nation. So we also have a lot of guilt happening. So it's like,
Interesting.
I don't deserve this type of a thing.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Until it actually happened. And to this day, every now and then, I'm just like, and also, this, I'm sure, I don't know if you have these moments, but living in Los Angeles is also so ridiculous to me at times.
I'm from North Carolina, so yeah.
But it's just crazy, and then you're surrounded by these incredibly creative people, and it's just wild. It really is still.
Honestly, I feel like I've been more surrounded by business people here, film business people, than filmmakers here. Maybe just my experience, and my ex, is an executive, so maybe that's why. And that's fine, and I like a lot of them, but it's just not my speed, But I feel like LA, I've definitely had a full-on dose of the business side of it, as far as hanging out with people and hearing the business side of perspectives of things.
That makes sense. Now that I think about it, I usually hang out mostly with my friends from New York who moved to LA.
Oh God, like the New York is so craft driven, and then being, in Europe, and this whole podcast started from me being at the Berlin Film Festival. I had a buddy who had a film in there, and we went to this like filmmaker brunch on that Sunday with all this company that held it that represented all these directors. And it was like I was like, this must be what the French New Wave was like, or whatever. It was like something as an American filmmaker I had never experienced before, where people were rabid about just like film, not business, but film. And I'm like, oh my God, I need this. And it's not really something that I've found in LA. So at least I thought about it for 4 years. And then finally I said, let me try this podcast thing. And now I'm able to just like go back to that room in Berlin, and sometimes people are less than a mile away from my little studio. It's so weird. But it's the idea of like, just at the end of the day, just like celebrating and talking about movies and, and also like, the intersection of movies and marketplace, or, movies and curation. It's just very important on how movies are seen and who sees what, and just kind of just like helping support other filmmakers. Like it's such a good feeling to even like to relate and to connect as a filmmaker with other filmmakers, usually on this podcast. But then it's nice to have someone come on that's also a part of the curation process, such as yourself, because it gives insight to filmmakers when they're submitting films and like all this. And there's so much assuming and guesswork on like what film festivals are about and what they want. And, you don't have any sort of correct data. So I appreciate you doing this, by the way. And Tom Power's coming on, and then we have another programmer from other festivals, where it's just like, why not help share the information on what you're looking for? Which, next question, Sundance, you see a huge range of all kinds of submissions, I'm sure, documentaries, and you do just documentaries?
So we all program together on the feature side of things. So I specialize, we kind of have our niches. So I specialize in docs, but we'll end up selecting together, which is really nice because I get to see the best of fiction as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, but my passion and sort of, my place on the team is on the nonfiction side of things.
Okay, so what excites you most about the films coming through right now? Like what is a good movie to you, or what is something that you're like, no, next round, here's a star?
I feel like most of my friends who are curators would probably say a version of this, but you always hope to be surprised. Mm-hmm. Because, if you watch 6 films a day for weeks, and I mean for weeks, and I mean 6 films, it is wild, but it's also, when you see something special. And, and people often ask us do you watch the film throughout and all of that? Well, it is literally my job to watch your film. So yes, I watch it. You hope for the best. And I always say that if you're a filmmaker, I'm your biggest fan. I really want you to succeed. You have no idea how much I'm rooting for you from the very beginning. And I want this film to be amazing. But it's obviously very hard to make something special and something that will also not just be a really good story, but will be well made and will connect to a viewer on an emotional level. I guess I'm always looking to be moved one way or another, whether it's because I'm surprised or whether it's because I'm reading a story, all of those things.
It comes down to that, right? The emotional impact or whatever of the
Me, it does.
film.
People have different ways of approaching it, I'm sure. But I think it's, especially these days, I'm waiting to discover something that feels unique and interesting.
How many doc programmers are there at Sundance?
So we have, I guess, 5 of us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Specifically nonfiction.
Got you.
Yeah.
And how much of it helps to have an in into the festival? I mean, it's obviously nice and helpful to know people, and it doesn't guarantee anything. I know that. But that's a positive thing, would you say? Positive situation? Yeah.
Yes. And to answer your question, it happens a lot. And it doesn't have to be anyone that we know. We get emails from filmmakers who submit it all the time, and they flag the film for us. And I say it's always welcome. And I encourage that. I don't always have the time to respond right away. But I think, look, we get hundreds and hundreds of submissions. So it's important to have a sense of context sometimes. And like you were saying just now, a lot of filmmakers are in the same boat, as in they finishing the film, they will be uploading updated cuts of their films within a week or something. And it's good to have that information for us. And look, there's no guarantee that we're going to watch the updated version because I might have seen your film already. And I'm not going to rewatch it because we just don't have that kind of time. But my colleague who'll be watching it next will get to see the updated version. So that's really good. So that's a tip that I can give you.
It's really nice to hear and to know. Yeah, this is like invaluable information for sure.
Well, but I think it's, there's this sort of bizarre way of presenting some of this sort of like that you have to be in the know somehow. Obviously it just depends. There's so many myths and stories about how we do things.
Yeah.
And then I try not to get annoyed about it because there's absolutely no point. I'll be getting annoyed at the internet.
People assume when they don't know, right?
But you're hearing stories as to how we do or don't do things. And, I know for a fact that every single film that's submitted to us will be seen by 1 or 2 people. So even knowing that, and people get upset because they don't see views on the Vimeo, for example. And I always say,
it's not accurate either, is it? I don't think. Well, it's not actually...
if people read our FAQ, which I always encourage them to do, we do specifically say that if you are watching through a third-party viewer, like we do, because I have, my Apple TV connected to a projector and a TV. So when you have that, it doesn't register the views on Vimeo.
Yeah,
so it's just like I honestly had a conversation with a filmmaker who was telling me that no one watched his film. I said, look, I can tell you that's not the case because I was actually one of the people that watched your film, and you can quiz me on it if you want. It's just that it's almost like, I don't know, maybe it's good to repeat that every now and then because I get it. I get it that it can be very upsetting if you put...
I was actually in Kansas City showing a friend a cut of Hollywood PI a few months ago. And I then looked at the analytics a few weeks later, and it said that it had been watched in Kansas City, but only for 1 second. And I'm like, no, we watched the whole movie in Kansas City. So that right there for me was like, this is actually some shitty analytics. I'm just saying, sorry, Vimeo, but
yep. And it's not their job on the other hand to give you an accurate,
it's a bonus. It's a bonus. Yeah, totally.
It's a bonus, but it doesn't always work and all of that. So it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's only that much you can do in terms of making people feel better about the fact that someone is paying attention to the work. But I can promise you that because I love what I do so much and I love the filmmakers, I really do. I have so much respect for anyone who actually makes a film that it's just, it's...
And you've only got certain amount of slots, right? I mean, how many slots do you guys have for documentary features?
So we have 10 films in our US competition, 10 films in our world competition, and we have some premieres. So it's usually about, I would say, 30-something nonfiction films that we'll be showing. And it's not a large number given how many submissions we have. So it's just, we love a film, but we just not the right fit for it, or we just don't have space, anything. Don't submit to every single festival out there. Do your research. Right. See what you actually are right for. See what films they play. Because that's another thing. Sometimes it's a fantastic story that I see, but I'm thinking, okay, but this is such a TV doc. And it's
Okay.
not
Yeah.
right for
Yeah.
us. And if you knew anything about the films that we
Mm-hmm.
show, you would
Yeah.
also know that. And you wouldn't spend your $100 or whatever on
Yeah.
submitting to us
Well,
because
I
it's,
have to ask you this. Do you think Hollywood PI is right for Sundance? Because Rachel and them think so.
I cannot answer this question right now. We're right
Ooh.
in the middle of the programming process.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
The comfort comes from the fact that someone really appreciates your work. It's not
Yep.
tied to Sundance. It's like you found
Totally.
someone who got what you were doing and they think there's potential in what can happen to it, which is great. And then it doesn't matter. I mean, of course, it doesn't matter what happens to it next, but I don't know. I think having this encouragement and feeling seen by someone who understands good filmmaking and made something that you respect and admire is a huge. I just want to remind you how many factors come into play for a film to be selected. The quality of the filmmaking, the storytelling, all of that, that's one thing. But there's so many other things that come into play. And so much of it is also the balance that we have to accomplish within those competitions. And that might mean that we have something similar that functions in a similar space. It can be a very different film that functions in a similar space.
So you're telling me you've got another detective documentary with it?
You are very focused on your own film right now.
I know. Of course I am. I'm a filmmaker. Thank you for indulging me with that. I appreciate it. Okay. So what do you look for when deciding whether a film belongs in Sundance?
Well, there are years that when we see, people ask us often about, so do you focus with a specific agenda in mind? And that is not what we do. We don't sort of set out looking for something specific. We respond to what's submitted to us, which is, a lot is submitted to us. And it's really interesting to see and hear what it is that people are thinking about, what are the subjects and themes that are on people's minds and how they deal with them and how they tell stories creatively and all of that. So I think that's when the themes emerge, when we have the full program and we actually see something that's so interesting to see that people are thinking about very similar themes around.
In your group, are you grouping themes together? Are you kind of getting the curation that way? Or sometimes
just happens organically a lot of the time, and then we only can see them when you do register even now. I mean, we're a few weeks into this in terms of just like the really intense programming.
Yeah.
And I can already see there are things that people are thinking about, and that's very interesting. But it's almost just we need to find that balance, like I was saying, in terms of what's appealing to audiences as well. And we have to have obviously some balance in terms of what voices we represent as a festival. We are a pretty unique platform in many ways, and especially for documentaries, to me it's a big responsibility as well because it's such a small slate. We to some extent this programming team obviously represents an audience, so it's okay to disagree, and those conversations are my favorite a lot of the time because to have someone feel strongly about something is the best can happen. Because
that reminds me, I was in Deauville and we were at the after parties or whatever, and I met this filmmaker who was on the jury as well at Deauville, and she was telling me how she spent all day just in this room, just this heated debate, this argument, this spirited back and forth with the other jurors, and it was just sounding like really uncomfortable but also really effective.
Juries are hard. They're very hard, but they're exciting, and it's a good sort of way to also hear how others are thinking about films, and it can be fascinating. It really can be. I think that speaking of curation, I mean, curating jury members is something that's hard.
Yeah. Curating the curators? Well,
and not necessarily curators. A lot of the time you'll have filmmakers on juries, and that can be too, because, you'll have an opinion about it. A lot of the time it's literally trying to stop that filmmaker from thinking about what they watched as if, how would I do it? Because I'm saying that's not the assignment here. You just watch something. You're supposed to judge it on the basis of what it is. You're not supposed to tell me what you would have done if it was you making this film.
Right. I hate when somebody's like trying to give notes on your film. I mean, give me notes. I like notes. But whenever they don't know the difference between your film and what their film would have been.
That's exactly what it is. And I think I'm all for notes, but you have to be selective as to who you ask for those notes.
Do you feel like there's any sort of kind of lean at all towards things that might... Our world is so serious, and documentaries are such a valuable lens to provide certain perspectives of our serious world, but also, do you think there's a space now more so for things that are a little more light, but yet still emotionally engaging, still profound, hopefully? You know what I mean? But like, is there a space right now in this time for something that can just be like a sigh of relief here and just enjoy this a little more and be more engaged, but hopefully also emotionally profound? But it's not a war. It's not a documentary about the Ukraine situation, or it's not a doc about, I don't know, gender identity, or it's not a documentary about something that we've seen a lot of. Do you feel like there's still power in somebody making a film that's entertaining if it doesn't have some sort of like a social, what do you call it, some current social theme?
Yeah, I think there is. And I think this is, again, going back to the balance I was describing earlier, and why this job can be very difficult, is that I think we have to make space for both. Our job as people who get to see the most in some way, to then make sure that you have a pretty good overview of what's out there. And that means I think it's very important that we show Stislav Chernow's new film about, continued war in Ukraine, because people should not be forgetting about it. And they should be aware of the fact that this is an ongoing crisis on so many levels. And I think the moment we stop showing those films, it means we don't care. And I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Also just making sure that people aren't just chasing something just because they feel like it's the hot thing,
No. And that's, I can only speak for us. That's not how we do things. But on the other hand, you would hear something from filmmakers, like, okay, you have one film about Ukraine. Does that mean that you can have another one? It's like, yes, it does. It just depends on what it is and whether we think we're a good fit for it. But again, I really believe in balance. I think it's very important to have those films, but also to have something lighter.
And I feel like Sundance is really good with that balance. It does seem that way. It does seem, it does seem that way.
But but there's also something, because you mentioned how the world is a place that it is right now, and it's true, and things are pretty hard. But on the other hand, you can have a film that talks about something very serious, but in a way that would be entertaining and different. And we had a film called Andre is an Idiot at the festival this year. And it's a film about, cancer, basically. But it's also incredibly entertaining and really well made and very well told. And Andre, the main character in the film, is just such an incredible person and so annoying at the same time. And it's just, this film is one of those examples that I feel like I always give to people who also tell me, but no one wants to see films about cancer. A, not true, but B, also just depends on the film.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a great example. Yeah. That's a balanced kind of exhibit A, right? Where it's like entertaining, but also very serious about.
Yeah. And our audiences loved it. And it was one of those films that I just feel like you might not think that you will appreciate it. And then you could fall completely in love with the guy you get to meet and his family, and it just changes your outlook on things.
That one kind of reminds me of my buddy Clay's movie, Gleason. Did you ever see Gleason? Oh, it played at Sundance 10 years ago.
Yes, it did. Yes.
Gleason. Yes, I was at that premiere.
That's incredible.
Incredible movie, right? But it's like the it was just such a hard thing to sit through and watch, but like also emotionally wrecking.
But you didn't look away, on the other hand, which is, it just speaks to the power of that film and of the storytelling. And again, the characters, because it wasn't just him, it was his family as well. It's such a beautiful film, and it's also so powerful in so many ways. And you're just basically in tears throughout. Yeah.
I need to get Clay on this thing, actually.
Yeah, you
Clay,
do.
Twill, what's up, bruh? Come on now. Okay, where do you see independent film and documentary heading in the next 5 to 10 years? And I know that's probably a pretty annoying question, but I gotta ask.
I love that. You said we're wrapping up, and then you asked me one of the biggest questions.
I just rounded the corner with that question. We're wrapping up,
Okay, well, where do I see it? Mm-hmm. I really want it to be alive, first of all. I want it to be alive and well. That's what I hope for. I know there's so much talk about just how everything sucks right now and how this industry is such a big, hole. But I don't know. I think people are watching films. They seek them out. They are curious. They need something right now to keep them going. And I think you as filmmakers can do a lot to maintain that. And I think it's very important. I don't know. I think it's a collective job of ours, you on your end, creatively, us on our end, creating space for films to be to be seen, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just, I am an optimist, which is probably, a big part of it. But, with the founder of the Institute, Robert Redford, who passed last week, with all of that happening, it was also just such a powerful reminder for me of why we do what we do and how incredibly invested he was in making space for stories that wouldn't be seen or heard otherwise, and creating space for people to be able to express themselves, and how it's all about the people. I think that's what it is. If you care about what you do and you want to do it well and you do it with care for others as well, I think there's power in it, and I think it can't be ignored. So if we just continue what Robert Redford believed in, I think we'll be fine.
I am on a Robert Redford marathon right now, and I just rewatched all the President's Men last night. Fell asleep to that.
I love that film so much.
So good. I mean, I got halfway through it and then I was knocked out. But yeah, so good.
Screening at Vidiots at the beginning of October. Yeah. So it's always nice to see it on the big screen. Just saying.
Only 12 more questions. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That was so good. Thank you so much. And you ended it with an exclamation point. Lovely. I really appreciate you taking the time and hanging in there with me as well.
Let's get coffee.
Please like and subscribe to this podcast and follow us on social media at Past Present Feature. And let us know in the comments section what movies you're watching. Thank you so much for listening to the Past Present Feature podcast, and we'll see you next time. Peace.